Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we're going to explore the mysterious sandworms of Saturn. Deep within the extravagant, shadowy, and delightfully twisted universe created by Beetlejuice, there exists a creature that stands out not only because of its colossal size or terrifying presence, but because of the symbolic mystery that surrounds it, the enigmatic and feared sandworms. Also known as Saturn worms, these colossal beings from the beyond seem torn straight out of a cosmic nightmare, combining the sinuous body of an alien serpent with the spectral form of a fossilized worm from ancient times, when the laws of physics and logic had yet to be written. Their skin, marked by alternating black and white stripes, inevitably recalls Beetlejuice himself, the infamous bioexorcist. Though the connection they share with him is more symbolic than literal, they are like his subconscious reflection in the afterlife, an echo of his chaos and wild nature, but stripped of his human language. These beasts aren't just meant to scare or add visual tension. They are spiritual guardians, creatures that patrol the farthest reaches of the world of the dead. They detect out-of-place souls, and when they do, they don't hesitate to drag them back where they belong. Their home, the scorching and desert-like sand world, is located, according to the lore on Titan, one of Saturn's moons, which adds a sci-fi element to this already bizarre Gothic narrative. In this video, we'll dive deep into the myth of these creatures, from their earliest film appearances to the mysteries of their impossible anatomy, their crucial role in Beetlejuice mythology, and how this hostile lunar landscape connects deeply with the rest of the narrative universe. But before we can understand these creatures, we must go back to the beginning, to the moment someone encountered them for the very first time. It all begins in the quiet and slightly old-fashioned town of Winter River, Connecticut, where Adam and Barbara Maitland enjoy a peaceful life, free of major concerns. Adam, who owns a hardware store, passionately works on building a meticulous scale model of his beloved town in the attic of their home. Barbara, loving and methodical, takes care of the house and shares a calm, everyday life with him, until a fateful accident changes their lives forever. A dog crosses their path while they're driving over a bridge, causing their car to plunge into the river, and they both die on the spot, although they don't realize it right away. Back at home, everything seems the same, but it isn't. Adam and Barbara begin to notice things aren't functioning like they used to. They don't remember how they got back from the accident. When Adam tries to leave the house, he opens the door and, without understanding how, finds himself walking across a vast alien desert. The sand trembles. Something enormous moves beneath his feet. In a matter of seconds, a colossal beast violently bursts forth. A Saturn worm stalks him. This is his first, brutal encounter with one of these creatures. Just as the monster lunges to devour him, Barbara pulls him back inside the house. Curiously, Adam insists he was outside for only a few seconds, but Barbara swears it was more than 2 hours. Time, in this new plane of existence, seems to lose all logic. Soon after, Beetlejuice, always tuned in to the underworld's latest news, learns of the Maitland's death through a spectral newspaper that also reports a rise in sandworm attacks. The news deeply irritates him, as he considers these creatures a constant nuisance to his plans. As the days pass, Adam and Barbara must come to terms with being trapped in their house as ghosts. He finds solace in his model town. She turns to books on the occult and rules of the afterlife. Everything changes when the eccentric Dietz family moves into the house. Modern renovations, chaotic creativity, and noise disturb the Maitlands' peace, and their attempts to scare the family off fail miserably. Their clumsy efforts at being professional ghosts lead them from one mistake to another, until, in a desperate act, Barbara once again steps outside the house and is sucked into the desert. Adam runs after her. This time, an even larger and more aggressive worm awaits. They barely manage to escape. That confrontation leaves them with a bitter truth. They are condemned to exist between two worlds, belonging fully to neither. Everything culminates in a chaotic climax. Beetlejuice, with a master plan in mind, attempts to force a marriage with Lydia, the Gothic teen who can see and speak to him. By doing so, he hopes to free himself from the afterlife rules that bind him. Barbara tries to stop the ceremony by saying his name 3 times, but Beetlejuice violently interrupts her and throws her into the desert, trapping Adam inside the model. But Barbara doesn't give up. Against all odds, she manages to find and control one of the Saturn worms and brings it back into the house with her. In a memorable scene, the worm bursts in like a force of nature and devours Beetlejuice with bestial violence, sealing his fate and sending him back to the underworld. Then, as if nothing had happened, the creature sinks once more into the sand, leaving behind a cloud of dust and a chilling silence. Years later, in the second installment of this supernatural tale, the Sandworms return, and this time, their presence is even more meaningful. Lydia, now the mother of a girl named Astrid, faces a new threat, the spirit of a murderer who switches bodies with her daughter. Unknowingly, the two cross a dimensional portal that doesn't lead to the afterlife, but straight to the lunar desert of Saturn. As the ground collapses around them, a sandworm emerges, roaring and ready to strike. Tension reaches its peak. It's then that Richard, Astrid's deceased father, appears at the last moment to save them. However, the real threat has yet to be revealed. Dolores, a former spectral sorceress and Beetlejuice's ex-wife, seeks to absorb Astrid's soul to achieve immortality. In a final act of faith and bravery, Astrid turns to the handbook for the recently deceased and manages to summon a new sandworm. But this time, the story takes an unexpected turn. Instead of attacking Astrid, the creature launches itself directly at Dolores and devours her with relentless fury. There is no mercy, no truce. The worm vanishes into the sand, taking the sorceress's corrupted soul with it, restoring balance to the afterlife, at least for now. And so, our journey through the many appearances of the fearsome sandworms in the Beetlejuice films comes to an end. But before we close this chapter, brimming with surrealism and dark comedy, there's one last step we must take. One that not only takes us beyond appearances, but plunges us into the symbolic core of these creatures. Because what's truly disturbing is not how they look, but what they represent. The sandworms, or more correctly, the Saturn worms, are not mere decorative monsters or visual spectacle devices. They're not just there to startle the viewer or add dramatic tension to a scene. No, these creatures carry a mythological, philosophical, and even astronomical weight that makes them fundamental pieces within the hidden puzzle that is the Beetlejuice universe. And that puzzle has an epicenter, Saturn. That gaseous titan of the solar system not only spins far away, millions of kilometers from Earth, but also orbits at the very heart of this saga's lore. In this cinematic universe, Saturn is not merely a planet. It is the threshold between dimensions, the boundary between existential planes, and the symbolic prison where the worms dwell. It is the gatekeeper of spiritual transit, the distant echo of time itself. These worms, with their colossal bodies and black and white stripes, immediately evoke the iconic suit of Beetlejuice himself. A visual coincidence? Maybe. But for many fans, that resemblance is no accident. Some interpret this shared appearance as a form of symbolic brotherhood, as if both Beetlejuice and the worms were different manifestations of the same chaos, one conscious, the other instinctual. The worm's morphology is anything but accidental. Its design is grotesque, yes, but also deeply functional. These are creatures capable of gliding beneath the sand with lethal grace, propelled by a prominent dorsal fin that recalls a shark's. Only this one is adapted not for water, but for the abrasive dust of an extraterrestrial desert. And the most unsettling part is that they don't have just one face but two. At first glance, we see a rudimentary head, bulging eyes, a toothless mouth, an almost comical expression. Many are fooled into thinking that's its true face, but it's merely a living mask. When the worm enters hunting mode, that face splits in two like a biological door, and from within emerges the true face, a second monstrous, terrifying head, armed with sharp fangs, magenta gums, and blazing yellow eyes that seem to peer beyond time itself. That second face isn't just an attack mechanism. It's a revelation, a manifestation of what lies beneath appearances, the violent truth behind the veil. And yet, as monstrous as they are, the Saturn worms are not villains, nor are they mere animals. They are something more. They are entities, guardians, balancers, beings whose purpose is not to cause mindless destruction, but to restore a broken order. They don't kill for pleasure or hunger. They devour to correct, to return wandering souls to the place where they belong. Their mission is to prevent the lost dead from contaminating the natural flow between life and death. In essence, they are custodians of the threshold, the force that ensures the cycle continues, without interruptions, without cheats, without shortcuts. This concept is reinforced in small scenes and details that, at first glance, may go unnoticed, like when Beetlejuice, in a bitter, mocking tone, says, "I've been to Saturn worms. They hate them, right? And I hate him too." Behind the humor, that line holds a confession. Beetlejuice fears the worms because he cannot control them, because they represent the only incorruptible force in a system he constantly tries to sabotage. And there's more. In a deleted scene from the first film, one that only a few fans have ever seen, Adam, after his first encounter with a worm, crosses what appears to be a dimensional door, but he doesn't land directly in the desert. First, he passes through a kind of mechanical tunnel, a space filled with massive gears, suspended in darkness, turning endlessly, producing a cosmic hum. This tunnel doesn't seem like a physical place, but rather a visual representation of time itself. It's as if Adam were walking through the mechanisms of destiny, floating within the gears of the universe. Finally, after that symbolic journey, he reaches the lunar desert, and there, the worm waits, as if only those who pass through time itself are worthy to face judgment. This idea connects with Greek mythology, where Cronus, the Roman equivalent being Saturn, is the god of time and also the devourer. He devours his children, his heirs, out of fear of losing power. In Beetlejuice, the worms are Saturn's symbolic children. They don't devour out of fear, but out of duty, because that's how the cycle is kept intact. And then, a fascinating theory emerges. During Adam's first encounter with the worm, he claims he was gone for only a few seconds, but Barbara says he was missing for more than 2 hours. And do you know how long it takes light to travel from Earth to Saturn? Exactly 2 hours and 5 minutes. Coincidence? Perhaps. Or is it a clever nod to the idea that these journeys aren't just interdimensional, but also intertemporal? All of this makes the worms much more than just desert creatures. They are symbols, echoes of time, primordial forces whose mission is to prevent the cosmic order from fracturing. They represent a truth no one wants to see, that chaos always needs a way to self-correct, and that justice, though brutal, sometimes arrives in the form of a giant jaw and a roar buried beneath the sand. Because, in the end, these beings are not just sentinels of the afterlife. They are living manifestations of universal karma. What strayed will be corrected, what escaped will be returned, and what broke the law of passage between worlds will be devoured. That's why, in this universe, the worms are not mere beasts. They are the devourers of chaos, the guardians of time, the restorers of balance. And although their jaws may be the last thing many spirits see before vanishing, in truth, they are the first act of justice in a world that never stops spinning.